Hello students, welcome to this session. I have just solved this NEET test 86. It is 5:50 am in my watch. The physics analysis is there. I have regarded 21 as easy, 21 as medium and 3 questions as tough. Question number 33 answer, I don't agree with what they have given. For me this is not the right way they have given. There is a question from X-rays here as well. So the paper I can say appears not as tough. It appears to be on easier side, but I doubt how will it appear to you, because there were many questions let's say that require some good concept, but overall still I can say it would be just the average paper, or just you can say just a not below the average you can say, or basically what you can say the paper that should be expected in NEET. There would be 1, 2, 3 good questions and other will be easy and medium. So that's a very regular NEET paper. So let's see what is in it. So let's start. Two energy levels of an electron and an atom are separated by 2.3 eV, the frequency of radiation emitted when electrons go from higher to lower. So simple way, then frequency h nu would be equal to difference, which is 2.3 eV. So nu would be 2.3 eV upon h. H you can write as 4.14 into 10 to the power minus 15 eV second. This is the value you should remember. So it is 2.3 upon 4.14 into 10 to the power 15. That roughly, if you solve, would be, this would be 0.5 something, so it would be 5.6 into 10 to the power 14 hertz. That is the most appropriate one. I can go for option C here. Next, the total energy of electron in the first excited state of hydrogen is minus 3.4. its kinetic energy, you know, kinetic energy is equal to mod of total energy, that would be plus 3.4 eV. Again a repeated one. A uniform wooden plank of mass 150 kg, length 8 meter is floating on still water with a man of 50 kg at one end of it. The man walks to the other end of the plank and stops. Then the distance covered by the plank is. Because it is floating on still water, it means along horizontal there is no force. So there is no force along horizontal, which means delta x cm will be 0. So what I can make out here, let's say this was the position of the plank initially and this was the man here. Now the man, when it comes here, let's say it just travels this distance L with respect to plank, so plank will definitely shift backwards to keep the cm there and the man would be here. So let's say the plank shifts by distance x right. So what I can say, the effective displacement of the men with respect to ground would be L minus x. So to keep the cm at the same position, what we can say, m1 delta x1 plus m2 delta x2 would be 0. So what is m1 x1? Let's say let this man, and let's say I take this forward direction to be positive. So man has a mass 50, it has a displacement of L minus x but negative because it is leftwards, plus m2 would be 150 into x, that would be 0. So it comes out as 200 x is equal to 50 into L, L is 8, so x comes out as 50 into 8 upon 200. So it is 8 by 4, or you can make out it as 2 meters. So plank will go 2 meter opposite to the direction in which the man is walking. Next, if the external forces acting on a system F0 resultant, the cm won't accelerate. So cm may move but not accelerate. That could be the option A. It could have a velocity, it doesn't mean its velocity is 0. F external 0, simple means what we have, sigma F external is m into ACM. So if it is 0, that means ACM is 0, not necessarily VCM is 0. So VCM may be 0, it may be non-zero, so it may be moving. So it is option A, that is the most appropriate for this. Next one. A particle describes a horizontal circle in a conical funnel whose inner surface is smooth with a speed of 0.5. What is the height of the plane of the circle from the vertex of the funnel? So it would be like this. This is the funnel, and let's say it would be moving somewhere like here. Okay. So because it is smooth, what we can make out, this should be n and this should be mg. It would be like a banked road, if you remember. So let's say this angle is theta, or let's say better take that angle as theta if I am talking of the inclined plane or the banked road. That would be the more better analogy. So let me draw it like this. So let it this angle be theta. So what we will have, the n will have two components, one would be here. So that component, if we can make it out, this angle would be theta. So along horizontal, n sin theta will provide the necessary centripetal force mv square by r. Let's say if I draw this, let's say this height is h and let's say this radius is r. So you have denoted this angle as theta, so I can write tan theta is equal to h by r. Okay, so mv square by small r, and n cos theta you know is equal to mg. So from here what we can make out, tan theta is equal to v square by rg, and tan theta you can make out from there also, that is equal to h by r. So r goes, so simply what would be the h is v square by g, v square is 0.5, that is 1 by 2 square by g, so that comes out as 1 by 40 of meters, which is 2.5 centimeter. I can directly write. So the answer would be option D. You can do like this. Next one, the ratio of magnetic field due to a bar magnet at the two axial points P1 and P2, which are separated from each other by 10 is 25:2. P1 point is at 10 centimeter from the center of the magnet, and distance of P1 P2 is much greater than the distance of the 2 points. Generally, I don't tell the students to remember this in the form of this distance that we call as the magnetic length, but let's say then they have given this. So what we can say, we can directly write that formula. That formula says B axial is mu naught upon 4 pi 2m r upon r square minus l square to the power whole square, where L is called the you call it as the magnetic length. That is the result that we can go for. So if the magnetic length is very small compared to r, we directly say it is equal to 2m by r cube, that we typically write. Now, so here what we will have for the 2 points, we have, let's say b1 upon b2, that ratio will now be, for the first point we have 10 centimeter upon 10 centimeter square minus l square to the power 2 divided by, the second is 10 centimeter from each other, so that would be 20 centimeters. They will be at the same side you are given, so that is 20 centimeter upon what we have, 20 centimeter square minus l square, that is what we can write, whole square, and this ratio is given as 25/2 to us. So if we do this, this comes out as, this is 10 by 20 we can write, and if we take the ratio, the units will automatically cancel up, so it would be 20 square minus l square upon 10 square minus l square, and that is given as 25/2 to us. So now solving it, what we will have, this cancel, this cancel, this cancels, so square it up. So what we will have, this whole square, sorry, so what we will have, we'll have 20 square minus l square whole square is 10 square minus l square, and let's write it as 5 square, take the whole root, 20 square minus l square is 10 square minus l square into 5. So 400 minus l square is equal to 500 minus 5l square. So what we can do, this is 100 is equal to 4l square, so l square comes out as, what we can cite is 25, so l comes out as 5, so l is 5 centimeter. So I think this line is actually dubious. If it is much greater than the distance, it cannot be that, and by that formula that ratio won't have come at 25/2, that would have come 8:1. So there is a flaw in the language. This should not be much greater, it would be comparable to the distance of two ends of the magnet from the center. So there is a flaw in this particular question I can go for. Okay, so this is what we can write. Also, pardon me, sorry, magnetic length is 2l, so it should be 10 not 5, it should be 10 centimeter because l is 25. That means L is 5 centimeter, so the magnetic length would be 2L, that would be equal to 10 centimeter. Okay, so this is how you are going to write it. Next, the drift velocity of an electron in copper wire of length 2 meter under the application of potential difference of 220 volt is 0.5 meter per second. Their mobility is, so mobility you know is drift velocity per unit electric field. So the mobility drift speed is given, electric field you can directly say would be equals to V by D. So drift velocity is 0.5, potential difference is 220, this is 2, that is 2 into 0.5, 1 by 220. So we can do this 1 by 220 meter square per volt per second. So 1 by 220, that is definitely going to be greater than 0.4 into 10 to the power 4 into 10 to the power minus 2, or 0.04. What I can write, let me write it as 1000 upon 220 into 10 to the power minus 3, so it would be 4.5, that would be the answer, 4.5 into 10 to the power minus 3 meter square per volt per second. Next, you can write that delta V is equal to EL or E is equal to delta V by D, that we write. In the circuit given, the voltmeter reads 30, where it is, okay, it is, the resistance of the voltmeter is, so if it is reading 30, you can make it out, if this drop is 30 volts, this is 30, and it means this is same, that means the equivalent of these two is equal to 300. So that RV into what we have, sorry, RV parallel with 400, that is RV into 400 upon 400 plus RV, that is equal to 300. So what I can make out, and this 0000 goes, 4 RV is 400 plus 3 RV, sorry, 400 into 3 into 400, that is 1200. So RV is equal to 1200 ohms. So we go for option A here. This is 1200 ohms, you can directly write. Next, 4 into 10 to power 20 electrons are removed from a neutral metal sphere of diameter. Electrons are removed, so it will have positive charge. So the magnitude of electric field, we write it as kq by r square. 9 and 10 to power 9, q is 4 into 10 to the power 10 electron, means each has a charge of 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 upon 0.2 square. So that is 1 by 5, that will be 25 go up. 9 into 4 into 1.6, if I take these powers, 10 and 9, 19 it goes. So that is Newton per coulomb. So what we have, 4 into 1.6 is 64, 25 into 9 is 225 into 6.4 Newton per coulomb. So looking at this options, 2 to 25 into 6, that is 450, 450 into 3, 1350, slightly greater than 1350, so it would be 1440 if you completely calculate. So this is the option D will take. Next, in a given circuit, switch K is open, the charge on the capacitor is CA, capacitor C in steady state is Q1. Now the Q is closed and steady state charge on C is Q2. The ratio of charges Q1 by Q2 is. Now what happens? First of all, when the key is open, this would be the circuit, so complete potential will be on C, so we can write this Q1 as C. Now in the second case, in the steady state no current flows through C, you know, so what we'll have, there will still be a loop working, which is this much. So the drop on voltage the capacitor would be equals to that on 2R, that is 2R. If you divide between R and 2R, this would be 2V by 3 or 2E by 3, so that would be 2CE by 3. So the ratio of charges Q1 by Q2 would be 3:2. Go for option A in this particular case. Next, small square loop side L is placed inside a large square loop of side capital. The loops are coplanar, centers coincide, the mutual induction is directly proportional to. So what we will do, let me draw it. This is the bigger loop. Okay, not proper. Let me remove it. Let's try it again. I have taken it in the wrong shape. Yes. So let's say this is the bigger one, and let's say this is a smaller one at the same center. So this is small l and this is capital L. So we'll assume, let's say, current I in there, so it will produce a field almost uniform like at the center. Let's say from here it would be outwards, so the field at the B at center, or you can say this is 1, this is 2, so B1 that we know would be proportional to, if I do, that would be proportional to 1 by L. So flux of 2 because of 1, that would be equals to B1 into area would be L square, so that is going to be proportional to L square by L. And what we can write, M directly would be what we have, N2 phi21 upon I1. So N is not given, so phi21 by I1, so it would be proportional to I also, so I will cancel out, so it is proportional to L square by L. So go for option B. You have to just check the proportionality, that's not tough. An AC source is connected to a resistive circuit. Which of the following is true? Current leads, no, current will be in phase with the voltage as if it is pure resistor. Next, the distance of a geostationary satellite from the center of the earth is, you know, it is at a height of 6r from the surface, so distance from the center would be 7r. You directly remember this result. Next, two particles of masses m and 9m are separated by a distance L. At a point in line joining, the gravitational field is 0. The potential at that point is. This is a question actually asked in some examination, plus this is a very common question. I think they have also asked it, that NTA has also asked it. And let me draw it again, not getting it properly, the shape. Okay, the shape is not getting. Let me draw it by my hand only. So let's say like this. This is m, this is 9m. This separation is r. First of all, where the field will be 0, it would be closer to this. Let's say this is the point P at a distance x. This will be r minus x. So doing this, I can write gm by x square, that would be towards left, and towards right would be g into 9m upon r minus x whole square. Take the root, so 1 by x is 3 upon r minus x, I can write r minus x because no x is less than r. R minus x is 3x, so x is equal to r by 4. So what would be Vp? Vp would be minus gm by x, that is r by 4, minus g into 9m upon this r minus x would be 3r by 4. So if I do this, this would be minus 4 gm by r, and if you do this, this is 3 4s are 12, minus 12 gm by r, so it is minus 16 gm by r. So you can go for option C here. So this is the 14th one. Next, question number 15 we will do. 3 disc has radius 2, 4 and 6 respectively, coated with carbon black on their outer surface. Wavelength corresponding to maximum intensity are 3, 4 and 500. The power radiated by QA, QB, QC respectively. Then this is a very famous question. So how you do this? We know the heat radiated, or the amount of heat, the power Q would be proportional to A into T ki power 4. A is proportional to R square, T ki power 4 would be, by Wien's law, would be lambda m to the power 4, you can write. So this is how the proportionality you will check. So what would be the ratio? The ratio Q is to QB is to QC. If I have to take it, this ratio would be 2 square upon 300. So I write it 3, 4, 5, that would be better because no point in writing those zeros. So 3 to the power 4, 4 upon 4 to the power 4, 4 square, sorry, 6 square upon 5 to the power 4. So if you do this, this is 4 by 81, this is 16 by 256, and this comes out as 62 by 6 square, sorry, it is not 62, it is 6 square, read it properly, and 5 to the power 4 is 25, that is 625. So if you do this, 4 by 81, 16 by 256, this is 4 times, but this is not 4 times, so definitely this is greater than this. And here, if I do this, 256 and 36, let's say this value is approximately 0.0, 1600 would be closer to 0.05 something, and if I do this, this would be 0.0, and that will be again, there will be 3600 again would be 5. Okay, so we have to check the another digit also. So if I check it, let me do it again, and let me calculate it more properly now. So 256 and 1600. So if I do this 256 into 6, if I remember, 6 6 is 36, 6 5 is 33, 3 12 50. Okay, so it was 0.6. So I can make it out. It was like this, it was like this, so definitely it is greater than that also. So B is going to be maximum. Be careful in the calculation. Next, the temperature of a gas is raised while its volume remains constant. Pressure exerted by the gas on the walls of the container increases because, so if temperature is increased, their speed will increase, so they are going to have, not lose, they will have what we can say, speed will increase, so the collision frequency will increase, though strikes the wall more often with higher velocities. So we'll go for option C here. Next, a mole of an ideal monatomic gas undergoes a process. This is a polytropic one. PV cube is constant. So heat capacity direct, you know, C is CV plus R upon 1 minus X. CV is 3R by 2 plus R upon 1 minus X. X is 3. So 3R by 2 minus R by 2, that is R. If you are not familiar with it, check my physics in 5-minute revision series. I have 2 videos for that. You can easily judge how to solve such questions. Next, coil has N turns bound tightly in the form of a spiral with inner and outer radii A and B. When a current I pass through the coil, the magnetic field at the center is, I know from my previous knowledge is that this is going to be like this, but how to solve it? It's a tough one. So you have this spiral coil like this. This is A, this is B. Total turns is N. So what you go from R and take a small width dr. So you go at R and take a small width, let's say R, and take a small width dr. So the number of turns in a dn would be equals to dr upon total width, what we have is B minus A into total number of turns N. So for this small one, the magnetic field at the center would be equal to dB is mu naught dn I upon what we write as 2R, R would be R. So what you will do, mu naught I n dr upon 2 times B minus A by R. So if you calculate complete field by integration, mu naught I by 2 B minus A n comes, it comes out as dr by R, integration from A to B, that is ln of B by A. So this is how the answer comes. So it's a nice thing. You have to find the number of turns in that dr width, that is the most important thing. This is a question generally taught to advanced students. I doubt how many institutes teaches it to NEET students. Charge Q accelerated through a potential difference V. It is then passed normally through a uniform magnetic field where it moves in a circle of radius r. The potential difference required to move it in a circle of radius 2r. You know r is equal to mv, that is root 2 mk, and k is qv upon qb. So r is proportional to root v, so to double it v has to be 4 times. Directly go for option B, none other choice. P is 4b. The acceleration of a particle increases linearly with time t as 60. If the initial velocity is 0, particle starts from origin, the distance traveled by the particle in time t will be. So what would be the distance traveled? So because acceleration is 60, I can write dv by dt is equal to 60. So this dv is 60 dt. So if I integrate it from 0 to t, let's say it is at rest, so 0 to v, so velocity as function of time t will come out as 60 integration, that would be 3t square. So velocity is 3t square, write it as dx by dt, that is 3t square. So the displacement dx integration will give you 3t square dt. This is from x initial to x final, that is delta x. 3t square from 0 to t, so this delta x 3t square will give you t cube. So that is option C. And the best thing is differentiate it. If you differentiate it 2 times, it should come out as 60. That would be the more easy thing to do. Next, the maximum height attained by a projectile at an angle theta thrown with horizontal is found to be half the horizontal range than theta is. So here you can use a relation that you might be remembering, relation between r and h. We write r is 4h cot theta. So for h to be r by 2, r is 4 times h is r by 2, that is cot theta. So that cot theta comes out as 1 by 2, or tan theta would be inverse of that, that is 2. So theta is tan inverse 2. You can directly do. You can derive that relation also, but generally people remember it, so I am using it directly. A heavy uniform chain is on a horizontal tabletop. If friction coefficient between chain and surface is 0.25, then the maximum fraction of the length of the chain that can hang. So typically I remember this, that is equal to mu upon 1 plus mu, that is 1 by 4 upon 1 plus 1 by 4. So what it comes out, it is 1 by 5, that is 20%. I can directly go. Now how you derive it, because I remember it from the knowledge by teaching for so many years, it is something like this. Let's say the fraction of length, let's say neta fraction, neta L length will be here, so remaining would be 1 minus neta times L will be on the top. So the normal from the top, this n from top would be equal to this remaining mass, which would be 1 minus neta times the total mass into g. So this pulling mass would be neta times mg, neta fraction of the total mass. So what we have, this pulling force neta mg, for it to be balanced by fs. And we know this fs has to be less than equal to mu s n, and n is 1 minus neta times mg. So what we have here, so neta should be less than equal to mu s 1 minus neta. So mu s from here, if I solve on neta, the fraction neta, if I'll solve, what you will have, neta 1 plus mu s should be less than equal to mu s. So neta should be less than equal to mu s upon 1 plus mu s. So maximum would be this much. That is I have used here. Next, a player catches a cricket ball of mass 150 grams going at a speed of 20 meters per second. Catching process completed in 0.1 second. The force of impact exerted by the ball on the hands. Again, it's a very common question. You know, F is delta p by delta t or dp by dt. So total change in momentum is mv, because final speed is 0. I have to just check the magnitude. It would be 0.15 into 20 divided by 0.1. So this is 3 and 2, this is 10, this is 30 Newton. You can directly go for option B here. Next one, if the ratio of the radius of a nucleus with 61 neutrons to that of helium nucleus is 3, then the atomic number is, we know that this r is of the nucleus is proportional to a to the power 1 by 3. So r of this unknown x to r of helium, that would be a of this x upon helium is 4 to the power 1 by 3, that comes out as 61. So this is coming out as 61, not 61, sorry, is 3. 61 is the number of what we have, neutrons. So a comes out as 4 into 3 cube I can write. So 3 cube is 27. So it is 27 if I am right, yes, 27 into 4. So 27 into 4, 4 7 ja, you have 8, 4 2 ja 8 and 2 10, 108. So a is equal to z plus n. Z plus n is 108 and this n is 61, so z is 108 minus 61, that is 7, and 47. So its atomic number is going to be 47 in this case. You can do very common style questions. Half-life of a substance is 4 days. The probability that a nucleus will decay into half-lives. So it will decay into half-lives. First of all, decay into half-lives, we know after 2 half-lives only 1/4 remains. 1/4 remains, that means 3/4 undergoes the decay. So 3/4 decays. So for its probability to be in that particular way would be 3:4. So 3/4 is the probability it will decay, 1/4 is it will survive. Next. Horizontal platform with an object placed on it is executing SHM. Amplitude is 2.5. What would be the least period of these oscillations so that the object is not detached? Again, this is a repeated one. So because it is going horizontal SHM like this, it will be going like this. So the requirement of the static is execute the amplitude so that the vertical, not horizontal. I have reiterated it due to some inertia. I think I read it wrong. It is going up and down. So we know the minimum normal will be at the highest point, and highest point we have acceleration is equal to omega square a downwards. So what we have, this would be n minimum and this would be mg, and you write mg minus n min is equal to m omega square a. So n min is mg minus omega square a, and for it to lose the contact it should be equal to 0. So g should be equal to omega square a. So omega in that case is root g by a. So omega is root g by a, root g is 10, area is 2. Amplitude is 2.5 into 10 to the power minus 2. So that comes out as 1000 upon 2.5, that is 400. So root of 400 is 20. So time period comes out as 2 pi by 20. So least period is 2 pi by 20, or you can say it is pi by 10 seconds. So it's a standard profile. You all must have done these questions. Next, the particle displacement in SHM is this. Okay, and this is again a standard one. Where it goes, let me, yes. So this is a standard one where this is in centimeter, t is in second. The amplitude you know is under root a square plus b square, that 8 square plus 6 square, that is 10 centimeter. Directly you can go for next. When two different materials A, B having atomic numbers Z1, Z2 are used as a target in Coolidge X-ray tube with different voltages V1, V2, their spectrums are found as follows. So first of all, it has the lower lambda. Lower lambda means it will have a higher accelerating potential because this lambda minimum is directly inverse to V. So lambda 1 is smaller, that means V1 is greater than V2. So these two options are rejected. Now looking at the graph for the K alpha line, we know nu alpha is proportional to F alpha is proportional to what we can write, it is proportional to Z minus 1 square, not root, sorry, root of nu, that I am writing is it wrong. Root of nu is proportional to Z minus 1 alpha. So lambda would be inverse. So higher the Z, more the frequency, lesser will be the lambda. So it has a lesser lambda. So this 2,1 will have Z more. So 2,1 will have Z more. That would be option D. That is we are going to do. This is called the Moseley's law. Next one. The de Broglie wavelength associated with an elementary particle of linear momentum P is best represented as the de Broglie wavelength lambda, it should be L, you write. So L is h by p, that is going to be inverse curve, not the A, not the B, not the C, it would be D inverse curve. So we can go for option D here. The figures are too big, I have to take 4 screenshots for this question. Now if the excess pressure inside a soap bubble is balanced by oil column of length 2 mm, the surface tension is, so what we can say, soap bubble, so 4s by r would be equal to rho gh. So the S would be rho gh r by 4. Rho is 0.8 gram per centimeter cube, so it is 800 kg per meter cube in SI unit. Hg is 10, h is 2 in 10 to the power minus 3, r is 10 to the power minus 2, 1 centimeter upon 4. So this is 10 to the power 2, 10 to the power 3, let's cancel it out, and this would be 2, that is 4 into 10 to the power minus 2 Newton per meter. That is what I am getting. So it should be option C here, yes. Next, in a wire stretched by hanging a weight from its end, the elastic potential energy per unit volume terms of a strain and elasticity is. So you know that elastic potential energy per unit volume is half stress into strain, and strain can be written as stress upon strain is y, that can be written as y into strain, and that is into strain. So strain square into y by 2, that is sigma square y by 2 as per the symbols used here. So it should be option A. Next, two thin lenses of 20-25 are in contact. The effective power is, So effective power is, you directly write P is equal to P1 plus P2 in the contact. So in that is 100 by F in centimeter, 100 by 20 plus 100 by 25, that is 9 diopters. Go for option D here, it would be 9 diopters. Next, a plano convex lens of 20 centimeter is silvered at plane surface. Now F will be, now F, that means it is the F equivalent of the mirror should be. Question should have been more proper, they have just done a formality. So what we have, it would be something like this. So we know 1 upon f of m is equivalent is 1 upon f of mirror minus 2 upon f of lens. So this is 0 because it is infinity, focal length is infinity. So minus 2 by fl, that is minus 2 by 20. So fm equivalent comes out as minus 2 by 20, that means it will be coming out as 10 centimeters, that is minus 10 you can write. So magnitude will be 10 centimeters. So it would be 10. I don't know what the NTA has done, how they have calculated 30, what f they have assumed. I have taken it to be the focal length of the equivalent mirror, that is the more appropriate choice. So I am sticking with my option, I don't go with the what NTA has given. Next, the instantaneous velocity of point B of the given rod of length half a meter is 3 meter per second in the represented direction. The angular velocity of the rod for the minimum velocity of end A is, okay. So the minimum velocity of the end A will be, so how to do this? So what we know, if I see this velocity is 3, I can say this component is 3 cos 60, which is 1.5, and this is 3 sin 60, which is what I can say 1.5 root 3. Now because the distance between A and B is fixed, let's say this is the length L, so the component along this line must be same, so this should have 1.5 at least in this direction. So at min what we can have, this component in the normal to be 0. So for this VA perpendicular to be 0, it means it should be rotating about this only, otherwise it will have this perpendicular component. So what I can directly make out, this perpendicular need not to be like there, it could be here in the plane also, what we can make out, but VA perpendicular will be 0 only if we rotate it about end A. So directly what we can say now, so this angular velocity taking about E, so velocity of B would be omega into L, that would be that perpendicular component is 1.5 root 3, that will give you maybe perpendicular is omega r. So that omega comes out as 1.5 into root 3 upon this length, which is 1 by 2. So that is 3 root 3, 3 into 1.7, that is 5 point something, so 5.2 radian per second is what we are going to tick for it. So again, it's a nice question. This is some come in some earlier exam, not exactly JEE or NEET, some state exam I suppose. Next, 3 small balls 1 kg, 2 kg, 3 kg moving in a plane with the velocity 1, 2, 3 respectively as shown where it is, okay. The total angular momentum of the system of the 3 balls about point P is, okay. So first of all, I know this component is 0 because here R and V both are in the same direction. So this is 0. So L of 3 will be 0. For L of 1 kg, what I can write MVR because it is perpendicular. 1 into 1 into 1. In the sense if I do this, this is R, this is V, R cross V would be clockwise. What would be L of 2 kg? Here it is R cross V, it would be anti-clockwise. So it would be 2, 2, 2, 2, that would be 8. So that was 1, that is 8, that is anti-clockwise. So L total would be, they will subtract, it would be 7 anti-clockwise kg meter square per second. Go for option D here. So just check whether you know how to calculate angular momentum or not. In a full wave rectifier operating for 50 Hz, the fundamental frequency in the rectifier wave is, in full wave we know that frequency is doubled, that will become 100 Hz. In the half wave it remains same, but here it becomes double. So it's a common fact, you know why it doubles. If you forget it, this is the input waveform, and what is the output you get? You get it like this. So if this is the time period t, now it repeats after t by 2, so the frequency becomes double, period becomes half. In an NPN transistor circuit, collector current is 10 if 90% of the electrons emitted reach the collector, okay. So what we will have, so alpha is 0.9 basically, that is IC upon IE. So basically IE will come out as 10 upon 0.9, so that would be greater than 10 milliampere. So emitter current is not 9, it is not 15. Now what would be the base current? So base current, if I write base current, I write it as IE minus IC, that is 10 upon 0.9 minus 10, so it is 10 minus 9 upon 0.9. So what it comes out? It comes out as 1 upon 0.9, so approximately 1.1 something milliampere. So I'll go for option A, that is the most appropriate I can tick. Next, The gases carbon monoxide and nitrogen at the same temperature have kinetic energies E1 and E2 respectively. So temperature is same, so at same temperature the molecules have the same kinetic energies, carbon monoxide and nitrogen, because carbon monoxide and nitrogen we take that is to be same, E1 is equal to A2, both are diatomic we take, so the both energy would be 5 by 2 kT. If it would have been helium and nitrogen, then the answer might have differed. Next, a current of 2.34 ampere flows in a resistance of this. The potential difference across the with due regard to the significant figures. So this is 3 figures, this is many figures, so final answer would be in 3 figures, so it would be 26. So directly you can go for that. Next, in a YDSC, if the slit widths are in the ratio 1:9, the ratio of intensity at minima to that intensity. So the ratio of slit width is directly given. So what we can say, intensity is directly what we can say, the slit width ratio depends on what we say A square, that is A depends on it. So here what I can directly say, if the widths are in different ratio, intensities will be different, and intensity would be proportional to width, because more the width, more area, more light will enter. So I can directly write I1 is to I2 would be 1:9, and the ratio of I min to I max, that you always write is equal to root of I1 minus root of I2 upon root of I1 plus root of I2 whole square. So if you do 1 is 1 and 1 is 3, so let's say it doesn't matter I2 minus I1 or root I1 minus I2, it would be root 3 minus root 1 upon root 3, 3 root of 9 is 3, I am taking another root, so I1 by I2, root of I1 I2 would be 1:3, so it would be 3 minus 1 upon 3 plus 1 whole square, that is 2 upon 4 whole square, so that comes out as 1:4, so go for option C. So this is a nice one, again you can do it. Next, in YDSC, distance between the slits is D and the distance between slit and screen is D, the longest wavelength that will be missing in front of S1. So in front of S1, let's say like this, so it is missing. Missing means this part difference. First of all, what would be the part difference, assuming all the things are valid? So this part difference, what we can write is D sine theta, and sine theta is almost tan theta, that is y by d. So that part difference is d sine theta becomes d tan theta dy by d, and y is d by 2, that is d square by 2d, and missing means that should be equal to 2n plus 1 lambda by 2. So that lambda comes out as this 2 goes d square upon 2n plus 1d. So for lambda to be maximum, n will be 0, so lambda max missing would be d square by d. So what we will go, d square by d means this is option A that is going to be missing. Next, two periodic waves I1 I2 intensity pass through a region at the same time in the same direction. The sum of the maximum and minimum intensities is, so sum we did that max is root I1 plus I2 whole square and minimum is root I1 minus root I2 whole square. Add them up, it would be I1 plus I2 plus 2 root I1 I2. Here you will get I1 plus I2 minus 2 root I1 I2, that goes up, so it is 2 I1 plus 2 I2. Go for option B here. So this is 42, option B will be there. Next, railway engine whistles at a constant frequency, moves with a constant speed. It goes past a stationary observer standing beside the railway track. The frequency of the sound heard by the observer is plotted against time. So just remember, Doppler doesn't depend on relative distance, it is only on relative velocity. So initially when it was approaching this observer, it will hear a higher frequency. When it recedes, it goes away, it will hear a lower frequency, but frequency won't change with these distances. It will only change when it crosses it. So option A is not right, B is not right, C is not right, only the D1 is correct. It was constant till it crossed, and after it crossed it becomes constant. Previously it was higher because it was approaching, now it is lower because it is receding. So D is the correct one. Particle is moving along x-axis from 0 to 5 under the influence of this. The work done, again simply work is integral f dx. So basic integration you have to do dx from 0 to 5. 7x minus x square plus 6 cube from 0 to 5. 0 would be 0, so only 5. 7 upon 7 into 5 minus 5 square 25 plus 125 I can write. So 35 minus 25 plus 125, this gives me 135 joules. So I'll go for option D here. It would be 135 joule. Basic integration you have to do. Now coming to the last. particle moves from a point minus 2i plus 5j to this. When a force is applied, how much work is done? Because it's a constant force, work done would be F dot R final minus R initial. What is R final minus R initial? First of all, it is 4i plus 3j. R final minus R initial. So look at it. It is 4j, it is 2i. So be careful, it would be minus 2i because there is no I. And this is 4j and minus 5j, that would be minus j. And 3k, nothing is there, so plus 3k cap. So be careful, don't directly subtract without looking at it. So it would be 4 into minus 2 plus 3 into minus 1, if I am right, or yeah, minus will become plus 2. Okay, 0 minus 2, so be careful. 4 plus 2 plus 3 into minus 1, let me check. Yes, so it is 8 minus 3, that is 5 joules. So do it carefully, otherwise you can commit a mistake in such an easy question. So this was today's paper. Please keep sharing this channel to other aspirants. That's the only request.